this video could dramatically change your outlook on the way you look at healing. You see, a lot of times when we think of healing, we think of mental health. And although that may be true, what you got to realize is mental health cannot be solved with the mental. It cannot be solved with your thoughts. And I want you to realize it's not your thoughts that's actually bothering you. It's the disturbance that's being created within your body. It's the disturbance that you're aware of. So think about it right now. You could say nasty stuff about yourself. But unless there's an actual disturbance within your body that's being triggered, you're perfectly fine. A lot of us are, somebody like me, I like to do self-deprecating humor. I like to make fun of myself. And because I'm making fun of myself and I'm laughing with it, the energy behind the words, the energy behind the thoughts actually puts me in a good mood, even though I'm saying negative things about myself. So what you gotta realize is that it's not your thoughts that are the issue. It's the disturbances that's being created within the body. This is why I particularly love this page, because my goal is to help you release energetic disturbances created in the body. But the first step is you got to become aware of what's going on inside you. You got to become aware of when you're getting triggered. You got to become aware when you're actually disturbed. And what most people don't realize is you're kind of disturbed all the time. Like, for instance, you're watching me on this video. Why? More than likely, you're not comfortable being by yourself, being in a quiet room. There was actually an experiment that I read about where it was called like the boring experiment, where they actually put people into a white room for about 15 minutes. Like, it was like an experiment. You put them into the room by themselves for 15 minutes, and most people rated the experience as horrible. And then they brought them back maybe a day or two later, and they actually put like a electrical buzzer where if they actually pressed the buzzard, it would electrocute them. So the same people they brought back on the second day, or whatever the day was, and they found that like 70% of the people, even though they knew they were going to get shocked, pressed the button to get some type of stimulation. Like, they actually put themselves in physical pain because it actually stimulated them, rather than just sitting there and being bored, sitting there and just being by themselves. So what you got to realize is more than likely you're probably disturbed a lot more than you think. You're just not aware of it. And you need to become aware that the disturbances are taking place within your body. So once you do that, once you become aware of your body, and that's what this page is all about, is helping you become aware. It's not so much the movements, although I love the movements, I love the stretches, I love the Chinese grandma techniques. It's not so much the movements that's actually going to help you release the disturbances. It's the fact that the movements help you become more aware of what's going on in your body. And if you've done some of my longer form YouTube videos or my longer form stretch routines, you realize there's a lot of pausing. There's a lot of time in between each movement. And the reason for that is I want you to become aware of what's going on. So that's the first step, is you need to become aware of what's going on inside your body. And once you become aware of it, this is the scary part, is you realize how bad it is. And once you start to realize how bad it is, when you start to go on this healing journey, you actually think you're getting worse, because you're going to start to experience all of the blockages you have stored within you. And what I want you to realize is you're not getting worse. You're just more aware. And what you got to do is step 2. So the first step, become aware that you're blocked, that you have a lot of emotional disturbances within you. The second step, and this is the hardest part. You ready for it? Once you notice how messed up you are, you need to accept it. Or as a YouTuber that I really enjoy watching, her name is Sam Miller, you need to allow it. you need to allow those disturbances to be there. And you need to experience it fully, which, by the way, is extremely, extremely painful. But I do have a saying that pain is your pathway to freedom. If you actually want to free yourself from this suffering, you need to experience the pain fully. So you need to accept it. And one of the things I like to do is just locate the pain. So for me, a lot of times, one of the things I used to suffer from was chronic anxiety. I suffered from chronic anxiety for about 15 years. And I always experienced a tightening in my throat. So for me personally, when I start to experience anxiety and I notice it, I become aware of it, which is step one. The second step is accept it. Allow the tightening to be there and do my best to relax. Now, here's the trick. When I say relax, I mean you relax. That doesn't mean the disturbance is going to relax. The disturbance might actually, believe it or not, get worse because you're allowing space for it. So you can relax. Realize that you're not the disturbance. You're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You're not your emotions. You're not even your physical body. You're the spirit behind it all. This is just your vessel that you're housing right now. So realize you're going to come in contact more with what the yogis would call the witness. And you need to get comfortable remaining in the witness. Realize you are the experiencer. So when the pain starts to come up, your only job is to allow it and accept it, which is step 2. And it's going to suck. But realize it's just a feeling. It's just a disturbance. It's just an energetic blockage. It's not going to kill you. However, avoiding this eventually will. Because if you continuously avoid this is when all these mental disorders come up. This is when heart problems come up. This is when all of the weirdness, cancer. A lot of times I feel like these diseases are just repressed energy that's stagnated in the body. So I can't prove this, but from experience, from working with over 200 plus people in person and dealing with thousands online, I'm pretty confident that's what's going on. Now, the medical establishment might not agree, but there is some medical practitioners out there that are pretty much saying what I'm saying. The third step to healing is once you accept it or allow it, is to allow it to flow. Continuously watch it. So for me with my anxiety, when I used to really, really suffer badly, when I used to watch it, it used to morph or transmute or move around. The energy actually used to move. And sometimes it would morph into sadness. Out of nowhere, I could start to feel my eyes start to get teary. Or anger. So your job is when it starts to flow, go back to step number 1 and become aware of it. And then step number 2, accept it. So it's a new emotion. And again, allow it to flow. So that's the third step, is you allow it to flow. And then the fourth and final step, as you continue to allow it to flow, in time, it will be released. Now, how does it get released? Realize you don't got to do anything. Realize that the body already knows how to heal. But the problem is our egos, our minds tends to get in the way because our minds and our egos loves to control things. Realize you need to choose awareness over control, which is very, very hard, by the way. Just become aware and allow. Don't try to control. Don't try to get entangled with it. Don't try to do anything with your thoughts. You don't have to do a breathing technique. You don't have to activate your vagus nerve. You don't have to do a fascial release. You don't have to do one of my stretches. You don't have to move lymph. You don't have to shake. You don't have to scream. Just allow the body to do whatever the hell it's doing. And when you do that, it will be released all on its own. Now, there are some techniques that I could tell you right now, maybe I'll tell you one of the techniques that I like to do is, if you're a believer in God or you're a believer in the universe, imagine surrendering it to a higher power. It could be your higher self. It could be the universe. It could be Earth, Mother Earth. It could be God. Imagine you're giving it back. You're giving the energy back. Because the energy that's within you that's disturbed, it's energy you took and resisted. And you've been carrying it for years. So that's one technique. Imagine you're giving it to a higher power. Second technique, just imagine you're stepping away from it. Now, you might have to use the mental here, maybe a little bit of visualization, but not much. Just imagine you have the energy, you're feeling it. Just imagine stepping away from it. Kind of like if you believe in this, an outer body experience. So for some people, that works. And then the third technique I use, and this is the only technique I use because this is the only thing that works for me, because anytime I try to do something, is just basically just don't do nothing and experience it fully, and eventually it'll just be released on its own. And it's kind of weird. It's just like you just surrender fully and it goes away. And I found that working with clients, they're doing this simple 4-step process. Basically what we're doing here is removing the weeds. So you see, a lot of times with the mental health or the self-development world, all the thoughts, the people that want to use the thoughts, the law of attraction, they love to think that they're in control. And I'm not arguing with them, but I'm here to tell you, you're not in as much control as you think. Your thoughts are just meant to help you buffer reality, because actual reality to the heart, remember, it's all about the heart, because the heart is resisting things. The heart, when it feels things, it pushes it away and it tells the mind, hey, don't let that happen again. That's basically your triggers, or the yogis call it some scars. But basically, what you're doing here is, if we're going to use the self-development terminology, because a lot of times people say you need to plant positive seeds in your garden. They refer to the mind as a garden. You need to plant positive seeds. And this is cool, but you already have a lot of weeds in it. And you need to deal with the weeds. And no matter how many thoughts you plant in there that are positive, the weeds that are already there need to be dealt with. So basically, this is how you deal with the weeds. This is how you deal with the disturbances. This is how you deal with your trauma, the suppressed energy, is become aware of it, accept it, or allow it to flow, and then release it by just continuously watching it. Realize you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you're not your body, you are not your mind. You are the experiencer of it all. And once you do those 4 steps, then you can start doing the thought thing, where you can start planting positive seeds, because now your garden is clean. So this is how you actually heal. Now, if you want a step-by-step system, learning the 4-step process, I have a course, very, very powerful course. It's a 28-day digital course. The course is called the Anxiety Release Breakthrough System. Inside the course, it's all about experience. What does this mean? We're not going to be sitting down. I'm not going to be lecturing you. We're not going to be psychoanalyzing. We're not going to be trying to figure out why you're anxious. Just realize you're anxious because you resisted things in the past. This is why you're chronically anxious. This is why certain anxiety is inappropriate. Certain disturbances is inappropriate. For instance, right now, I'm sitting in a room. I'm perfectly safe. I'm perfectly comfortable. There's no reason for me to be disturbed. However, there's resisted energy within there. That's inappropriate. But if there's a lion in the room, that's our appropriate time. And a lion's about to attack me, that might be an appropriate time for me to have anxiety. So that's what we're going to be dealing with: the inappropriate anxiety, the chronic anxiety, the chronic disturbed energy. So the course is all about experience. It's all about experience. We're going to be doing stuff. I'm not going to be lecturing you. I'm also not going to be trying to trick you into buying a higher price course. Because a lot of times with these digital courses, a lot of people tell me it's a scam. Because I understand. People have been scammed in the past. Basically, you buy a digital course, which, by the way, mine is a cheap one, $47, with a 60-day money-back guarantee. But you buy a cheap course, and basically the whole course is basically trying to motivate you and say you're going to get this, you're going to get that. They don't really teach you anything. And then they teach you very, very little. And then they say, by the way, because this is such a cheap course, I couldn't teach you much here. If you want to learn the really good stuff, buy this $197 course, $297, $397. Come work with me one-on-one. We're not doing any of that. I gave away the farm. It's 102 videos. The course is designed to go with your busy schedule because basically I divided it into 3 parts, which is stretch routine to help you become more aware of what's going on. The stretch routine is about 8 minutes. The meditation routine, which is a release, which guides you through the 4-step process. It's maybe 8 to 12 minutes. And what I call disturbance exercises, which basically means you're going to go out into the real world and it's like very, very simple exercises. It's meant to be done with your busy schedule, where you're actually going to rattle yourself a little bit. You're going to disturb yourself. You're going to trigger yourself. And you're going to practice the 4-step process that we just went over. So if you're interested in this, and this is not only just for anxiety, this is for everything, but I call it the anxiety release breakthrough system because that was the issue I dealt with the most. That's the thing I have the most experience with. If this is something you're interested in, please, and I'm going to post this to all 3 of my platforms. If this is on Instagram and Facebook, if you're seeing this on Instagram and Facebook, comment the word release and I will DM you automatically, right away, automation, the details. And you'll see, click the website, realize it's $47 backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee, which means you have enough time to do the course twice. So if you're not happy with it, it's pretty much free. If this is on YouTube, I'll leave the link in the comment section. You'll see the link, just click the link and check it out, please. I'm telling you right now, it's well worth it. I have a bunch of reviews. I think we have about 1,700 members now. Majority of them are pretty happy, or at least if they haven't started the course or haven't done the course, it didn't break the bank. It didn't break the bank. Cheap course. I'm telling you, the practices take no longer than your coffee break. You could do them while you're making your cup of coffee, while you're making your breakfast, you could substitute it instead of watching the news. You could substitute it instead of scrolling. You could do the course. Again, meditation, 10 minutes, stretch routine, 8 minutes. All the routines, except for one day, I believe, is done in a chair. So you don't need much energy for this. This is a low energy course, high awareness course. And you're just going to become aware of what's going on. So if you're interested, please check it out. And I hope you found this valuable. If you did, leave any feedback in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.